Good morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Friday, the 19th day of September 2025. I hope you're safe and healthy today, and that your family is safe and healthy, and that the needs of you and your family in terms of food, shelter, clothing, as well as health are being met today. Blessings upon those that work in health, along with first responders trying every day to save lives. Those also that pick up garbage to keep our places clean, and those that make deliveries for our convenience. Double blessings on the men and women that are out here trying to help, rescue, deliver, and recover teenagers and children that are victims of child molestation and pedophilia. People that are out here trying to help those that are victims of prostitution, child prostitution, pornography, child pornography, human trafficking, and sex slavery. Double curses on all the perpetrators, the profiteers, and those perverts that create the demands that cause these evil things to exist. Finally, blessings upon the homeless. More than 700,000 men, women, children, families, senior citizens, and military veterans homeless in the United States of America, and millions of people in worse conditions around the world. Blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom. Today, I want to discuss a couple things that also opened our eyes to a couple things. Dennis Smith Jr., drafted by the Dallas Mavericks the same year the Knicks drafted Frank Ntilikina. He was later, of course, as we know, traded to the New York Knicks. He was very athletic, point guard, coming out of, I think it was North Carolina. He didn't last with the Knicks, didn't last with Dallas, and was bounced around the league and actually played overseas recently. During the whole tenure, now no one, at least myself, never questioned Dennis Smith Jr.'s talent. Always had talent, athletic ability, just needed to learn the pro game, as many young players do. He went overseas, and before he even went overseas, he was improving his game in different teams. He had played for different teams over the last couple of seasons. He came back, and the Knicks invited him to try to get a training camp. He had a workout in order to get a training camp invite. And I want to put what Ian Begley reported with respect to that because it tells us, again, it gives us insight into the Knicks. One thing, again, what I try to do on this channel with respect to the Knicks is deal with logic, what makes sense. And what makes sense best based on solid basketball decisions, on long-term sustainable winning decisions, and on what the Knicks have done in the 5 years under Leon Rose. These things, long-term sustainable winning, sound basketball decisions, which is closely related to that, and of course, the history, the recent 5-year history of the moves Leon Rose has made gives you an indication of where they're going, because Leon Rose does not leak anything, okay? And which is why a lot of the clickbait is just BS, because they're just guessing as to moves that Leon Rose probably won't make, okay? And the latest we talked about yesterday with respect to a potential trade of Deuce McBride, which is ridiculous, for the ability to sign Brogdon, which is ridiculous. And of course, the natural overreaction of Brogdon as if he's some savior for the Knicks, which is also ridiculous. Brogdon would probably play a good 10 minutes a game, maybe. If he plays more, he's going to get hurt. Okay? And so he's going to be very effective in his limited minutes, but he is, for all practical purposes, the third string point guard. That's what he is. Okay, he may not even be in the rotation, but we'll see what Mike Brown does. But of course, and this is just on a side note, the norm in the media. The media always reports as if something just happened and it's breaking news and it's instantaneous, and they're looking for an instantaneous reaction, which is why most of them are wrong. Especially when you understand in Knicks Nation, the guy I call the Don, who plays chess while everybody's playing checkers, which means on that alone, we understand we must look at something more than just the immediate move. what we think is the immediate result of a move. We must look at it longer term, because the Knicks are now officially long-term sustainable winners. And since the Don is playing chess, we must not look at the immediate move for what we think it immediately accomplishes, but longer term, okay? Because that's how he's looking at things, longer term. So, the Knicks invited Dennis Smith Jr. for a workout. They invited many people for workouts, including Thomas Bryant, also, which you have never heard from again because they didn't invite him to training camp. And let's look at what Ian Begley said about Dennis Smith Jr., and I'll post this in the description box. Dennis Smith Jr. played well in recent workout with Knicks, impressed some decision makers, but club decided to go with a big man over point guard for training camp spot. So, they decided to go with big man over point guard for a training camp spot. First of all, a training camp spot is not the team. That's you getting the invite to try and make the team. That's what a training camp is. It's for you to try to make the team. If you're not invited to training camp, you have no way of making the team. They might be able to sign you later in the season for partially guaranteed contract, but in the start of the season, whatever you have as the invitees to a training camp, that's who you're starting to build your team around. That's it. So Dennis Smith Jr. was not invited to training camp, and the reason he wasn't invited is because they wanted to look at a big man over a point guard, which tells you they're satisfied with the contingent of point guards coming into camp. And when you look at the contingent of point guards coming into camp, you really officially have two that are officially listed by the organization as point guards. That would be Jalen Brunson and Deuce McBride. Jalen Brunson's All-NBA. Deuce McBride is an important piece of this Knicks team that just went to the Eastern Conference Finals. And he's been an important piece for the last 3 seasons. So he is here. So now what you're looking at is back up to them. You're not looking to replace either of them. You're looking for backup to them. Many people don't understand this because of the short-term thinking is Deuce is not a point guard, though he's played it for the last 4 seasons for the Knicks. The short-term thinking is, well, then he's another ball handler. Says who? Then the long-term thinking is we're going to keep Brunson and Deuce for the long term and have backup if we need it with experience for a championship run. Now, you have Tyler Kolek coming into camp. You have Landry Shamet, who's not a point guard, coming into camp. And now you have Malcolm Brogdon coming into camp. They don't need all of those. And as we already know, they can only really sign or keep 2 of those 3. 2 of Kolek, Shamet, and Brogdon. Let's take Shamet off the table, since it's been reported by Begley multiple times that the Knicks brass favors him. So he will get a spot. Unless he's hurt, and that's the thing, unless he's hurt, he's going to be on the Knicks roster. So take him off the table. Now you got to choose one of Brogdon or Kolek. Either one is going to be a 3rd string point guard. That's the position we're dealing with here. We're not dealing with a rotation position. We're dealing with a 3rd string point guard, which on a championship level team is important. Okay? Can't minimize on a 3rd string point guard's role on a championship level team. He must be ready to play. He must be ready to play at a moment's notice in a big spot. He must be ready to play in the playoffs. He must have some experience dealing with playoff pressure. The Knicks are a playoff team, expected to be in the Eastern Conference Finals. So you may have to call on him, as the Knicks did last year when they called on their third string point guard in the month of April in DeLon Wright when Jalen Brunson's ankle needed time to heal. So you need somebody that might be able to play in the rotation at a moment's notice, be ready, be experienced, and can perform under those conditions. So let me ask a very logical question. Between Tyler Kolek and Malcolm Brogdon, which one fits that description best? Experienced, been in pressure situations, has learned to handle himself in pressure situations, and let me add this, plays defense in pressure situations. I think the answer is obvious. So we again come to the conclusion that Tyler Kolek is probably not long for the New York Knicks organization. But let's go to the second part of this equation. They wanted to go with a big man over a point guard for the training camp spot. So what do we have in terms of big men? We have Mitchell Robinson, Karl Anthony Towns, Ariel Hukporti, and now they just signed Jamison III to a two-way contract. Jamison III comes out of University of Alabama, Birmingham, I believe, and he signed to a two-way deal. So he's 6'11" and he's a 5. So why are they looking at another big man? This is what's called, on a championship team, insurance. Insurance. Knowing Mitchell Robinson's impact on the game, especially with the Knicks when he is healthy, is huge. So we're not trying to replace Mitchell Robinson. What are we trying to do? If we lose Mitchell Robinson, which Mitchell Rob has only averaged about 40 games a year in his Knicks career. He's been in the Knicks for 7 years. This is 7th season. I think it's 7th or 8th season. He's 27 years old. He's played about 337 games for the Knicks over the 7 years, which is averaging about, he averages about a little less than 50 games a year. Let's say 47 games a year. So that's his average. So if he gets hurt again, you need to have insurance. Okay? Because if you're depending on him and you lose him, you need to have some backup. So if Mitchell Robinson was to get hurt, then that would leave you with Ariel Hukporti, who's under contract, and Jamison. So again, if you're a playoff team, you need somebody that has some playoff experience, that's performed on playoff teams before, and knows how to handle itself in that situation. Some veteran, which is why they also brought in Alex Len. Alex Len can never be confused with any superstar, not even a rotation player. I don't think he's ever been a real rotation player on any team he's ever played on. Maybe once, maybe Phoenix, I don't know. But it's more not than is for him. But he is a veteran. He is a center. He is experienced. You can get 9-10 minutes a game out of him. That's the max you could get really of effectiveness out of a guy like that. So what would happen in that scenario is you would play Karl Anthony Towns at the 5 if Mitch Rob got hurt. You would use Yabusele at small ball 5 if Mitch Rob got hurt. And then you'd need some fill-in minutes from a Jamison or a Lynn or a Hukporti. It depends on who they like, who they trust, who they think is going to go. Now, I can't tell you. I really believe in Hukporti's talent. So I'm not going to me, I think he would be. And again, what we're talking about, if Mitch Rob does not start, we're talking about the third string center. If Mitch Rob does start, we're talking about the second string center. If Mitch Rob starts at the 5, the second string center is right behind him. That would be either Len, Hukporti, or Jamison. Now somebody says, well, Jamison is a two-way guy. He can only play 50 games. True. But I suspect there is a possibility, I'm not going to guarantee this, but I think Jamison will perform very well in the G League for the Knicks, especially under the tutelage of big man coach Thomas Bryant. If he does, you can convert his two-way deal to a one-year contract later in the season and basically pay him the same money for that last part of the season. Okay, so that would not hurt the Knicks salary-wise. All right, so that's good. So you have that possibility. So now Alex Len needs to come into camp and show that he should be able to make this team. And Houporti needs to understand that's why he's there. And Houporti needs to show up and show out. Now, Houporti played very well in the Summer League. To me, that's why he's still here. But here we go. So you're talking about Alex Len and Ariel Houporti. Jamison, to me, is the most set one because they got him on the two-way contract already. So he's there. And Houporti's contract, the 1.9, is not guaranteed. Okay, it's not guaranteed. So you can cut him and you can sign Alex Len. That's what we're dealing with. So right now, you're dealing with probably Tyler Kolek again being traded. And you may get another trade of Ariel Houporti, depending on how the Knicks feel about Alex Len. And if they're planning on having Mitchell Robinson come off the bench, those are Mike Brown decisions. If Mitchell Robinson come off the bench, somebody's going to get traded because they don't need all those fives, okay, or cut. They don't need all those fives. So we're going to see. Right now, I see Jamison as a solid pick to be in the Knicks going into the season as a two-way player. It's really between Alex Len, a journeyman, and Ariel Houporti, a young piece at the 5. I prefer Houporti, but I can understand if they go with Len because of the veteran experience. We're all in for the chip this year, obviously. So we'll see. And that's why I feel like Tyler Kolek is going to be the odd man out because he doesn't have the criteria what you need for a playoff performer. This is not the year to be trying to experiment to see what you got. We're trying to get this chip. So they need as close to guaranteed performers as possible. Guys that have been there, that have done that. Okay? That's what you're going to be looking for here. That's why Alex Len is here in the camp. It's going to be a very interesting camp. We're going to see how this plays out. And of course, as I told you all yesterday, there's already BS content with Deuce as the subject of trade rumors, which the Knicks never put out, but it was mentioned by a writer that's questionable, and now everybody's picking up on that for the clicks. It is what it is. Somebody told me you didn't have to watch that. You're right, I didn't have to watch it. I watched it for educational purposes. Yesterday class was in session. Pay attention. You all enjoy your Friday and enjoy your weekend. Shalom.